Okay, fertilizer day. Got the first load of about 1,700 pounds of fertilizer from my end of town. Just picked up the spreader and reattaching. And this is silly that I have a backup camera, but I'm ready to get used to this with how much I move the circus around. Okay, no, look at this. Whoop, I'm gonna get used to it, but that is pretty nice. Oh, I feel spoiled. Okay, getting things lined up to fertilize this end of town, getting a spitting rain shower right now. This is working the way I want it to. The leaf springs still look happy, still plenty of bounce in it. And the way that this gate folds flat, but is nice, thick tube stock, that's exactly the same thickness as a 2x, that worked perfectly. So I'm optimistic. This is only 1,700 pounds or so, and the payload capacity is supposed to be 2,400, so a ton should be easy. Okay, spreader's on, working, adjusted. Drop the fertilizer up the hill and try to squeak this in between rain showers. So far, that setup's not bad. You know, I'll have to get used to lifting the bags a little bit higher than a truck bed, but all in all, that's fine. All right, it's Monday afternoon, about 3 o'clock, 3:30, and looks like we're gonna get some rain this evening. Chance of showers anyway, enough for me to try to put down some more fertilizer. So doing the traveling circus trailer game, dropping this at the set of fields, and then I'll go get the tractor and spread it, and then come back and move the trailer to another set of fields. It's not quite efficient, but it's good practice for not just being able to rely on a second person to chauffeur around with the truck. So, seems to be working pretty smoothly. This is about a ton, and no complaints from the trailer. Still, it's got a 2,400 pound capacity legally. It's got a 3,500 pound axle, but to stay under 3,000, 2,400 is the magic number. Well, the trailer's working pretty nice. I was worried it was going to be too low, but just being up that 1.5 feet makes all the difference for loading the spreader. And people often ask me why I do bags rather than renting a spreader in crop production. The bags, you know, it's a lot more work and an annoying amount of plastic, even though there's less trash actually from these purely plastic bags than the paper ones that are plastic lined. But I absolutely want to have complete control over when I apply the fertilizer to get right before rain. The crop production folks do their best, but there's a long roster of people that want to rent their spreaders, and yeah, I want to be able to get it down exactly when I want it. And also I have wet enough ground that I really don't want to get one of those big spreaders stuck. Being able to be pretty light-footed with the big tires on this tractor and only putting 13 bags in here at once, 1350s, so what's that? Anyway, that, you know, makes it a lot better and better for the land, honestly. So that's my rationale. I forgot the most important point of why I do bags. It's so I can put different stuff down at different fields depending on the soil test. That's reason number one. Everything else is still important. Everything I'm doing today is taking 20-5-25. But some of the fields this year need 1919. They need some phosphorus, and I have a couple of fields that, the new ones, that are loaded in phosphorus and potassium and just need nitrogen. So it's a way I can pick and choose what goes down and not over-apply and get the best bang for my buck and best environmental stewardship that I can. All right, next field, next batch. Yeah. And hopping on to the next field. 13 bags of 1350s can fit in here. But going down the road, I'm worried it'll spill. So I'll cut those last two open at the last field. And we're almost halfway done, I think. Beautiful green up on this field. You can see how much the third cut regrew that I wasn't able to get to, but won't be noticeable by the time we get first. I can't tell if the grass is ahead or behind this year. It's been cold, but we're starting to get some warm weather and it's going to jump, I'm sure. Now I will say, the way that I learned to use a broadcast spreader, one of the spinner type, is to throw it to your last wheel tracks. Since theoretically, directly behind you, you're at 100% rate, and it tapers all the way out to 0. And so if you get your edge, where it's 0, to hit where your last pass was 100, it's supposed to even itself out. The problem is the edge of the field doesn't work like that. And I don't know if I'm right. But picking up on that thread, if you don't do that, and you don't try to have 0 overlap, then if you do have overlap somewhere, you're going to be at 200%, which seems like too much for me. Oh, big hole there to go around. Okay, that's the last of the 20-5-25. Good friend of mine who was doing some vegetables last year gave me a few random bags. Got 3 bags of this 2.11040. And 1 bag of this 92414. So I went a little crazy with spreadsheets and figured out how to fit these on this field since they were just in this barn over the winter. And I'm just going to do a real light rate, kind of just sneeze it on between the tracks and call it good. But I'm trying to add a part of a bag and see if it'll mix a little in the hopper. I don't know. I drive myself crazy with this, but free fertilizer is free fertilizer. Well, that's that for today. All spread. Actually, it worked out just about perfectly. I covered all the ground a second time, kind of sneezing on that mixture. So, yeah, it's a little after 6 o'clock. Got to go rinse the spreader, bring the trailer home, call it a day. Hi, little dinosaur. What are you doing? Huh? Where's your other two, huh? Can't tell if you're the little one. Folks here have 3 little velociraptors. So here's the new field that I already walked and did soil tests a few weeks ago. You can see the grass is nice and sprouting, even though the second cut was brush hogged by the previous folks last year. So did soil tests. This field has a lot of potassium. Potassium was like off the charts, not in a bad way, just well kept after. So while I figure out the footprint, and also because it didn't need it, I'm putting down first pass of urea, and then because it does need some phosphorus, I've been using this 11-52-0 occasionally on fields. So covering the same ground twice isn't efficient, but I try to do that in the spring like this when I've got time. So there's the 4-acre main piece that gets to the end of this fence line, and then there's a big wet spot. So I'm going to kind of fertilize this as one chunk that they actively hayed last year, and then there's a hillside and a smaller tongue that I'm not quite sure what footprint I'm going to be able to get on. So I'm really just going to focus on a lighter rate of nitrogen, and I guess some of the 11-52-0 on the hillside because I'm hopeful for it. But it's always a gamble, fertilizing area that you don't quite know what haying footprint is going to look like, which also totally depends on the year. A little hard to see the wheel tracks, but being out in the field on a tractor, I'm looking forward to this. We get so much nice sun, really nice gradual slope, but nothing steep. Yeah, this is nice. Except for that, that's... Alright, there's my wheel tracks. All right, that's the main part spread. So it's an imperfect science, but you know, I figured out kind of the right rates to put this at for different products, and I know that putting this on the third notch is what I call sneezing of urea. I've done that at times. So third notch, not including the top one, yeah. So I'm going to use that for the hillside, go a bit lighter, go around the wet spots, see, kind of use this as my first time driving the tractor on the hillside too, and kind of get a gut feeling of how that's going to be. Definitely not going to do that far steep part, but right there, it's dry enough, I'm hopeful. Well, that did not go as far as I was hoping it would. So I kind of zigzagged my way up the hill, only made it about halfway, even at a lower rate. So it is what it is. I mean, I want to treat areas that are similar to seams, but at least nitrogen is not something you really test for in the soil for hay. And it's so depleting and changes so much. So I don't know, imperfect, but it also starts to get steeper and steeper up there. So I don't know. I think a lot of it's going to depend on the wetness and access to get up there. We'll see. Well, I ran out of fertilizer again. So I just drove around on the hillside just with an empty copper. It feels like, and actually it doesn't feel bad at all, steepness-wise. It looks intimidating, but it's gradual. And if I tackle it smartly with empty wagons when I'm baling, you know, it's not the most efficient, but I don't think this is any crazier than other size of fields that I do. This was wet enough another year's ditch on around it. I did not fertilize exactly where this is. This here, right there tends to be the worst, right where the fence line is. But looking at the tires, gosh, that could be so much worse. Yeah, right there, some wetness, not too crazy, and it's still in. On to the last load from crop production. Hitting the fields above Pumpkin Hollow here, and then headed a few miles that way up on Cricket Hill to finish out. Since Natural Roots does their own organic fertility, that decreases how much ground we got to cover this time of year. Really happy with this trailer. Figuring out the logistics, going a little slower being by myself rather than having my dad or my wife to chauffeur the fertilizer around, but I'm figuring it out. Great. Game on. These fields are jumping. Well, proof of concept, this does work. Shortening the top length, wouldn't do it a lot, but coming all the way back up here with the truck just to get the empty trailer felt silly. There's plenty of clearance there. I was a little nervous, but I'll just be careful with it. Well, I was just driving by and noticed the nuclear deep green this field I fertilized a week ago. I think that rain hit it at just the right time. Oh gosh, this looks great. Here I was being worried the grass was behind this year. But given a week, how much that popped and how much it's already got such a deep green color to it, that's pretty encouraging. Nice. Still see the wheel tracks, so cool.